Hare Krishna, warm welcome everyone in our Bhagavad Gita study session. And we have today Padar Prabhu joining us for the Bhagavad Gita session. Uh, so I'll give a brief introduction. I mean, it's a bit of a struggle to give a brief introduction. An introduction for a Vaishnava, introducing a Vaishnava should never be brief as such, but say respecting time as well. And as we progress, we'll share more about Padar Prabhu. Very nice, very inspiring devotee. Some of the qualities which I really like about him, I will share that as well. So Padar Prabhu, he studies in the University of Glasgow in the field of psychology, and it was during the pandemic time, summer 2020, I believe. He met devotees in London, around Watford area, Bhaktivedanta Manor, where the temple is. So he got books and he started reading the books. Even before coming into Krishna consciousness, he had some good appreciation for philosophy, spiritual life, and spiritual philosophy. So he got books from devotees from Bhaktivedanta Manor, and then gradually he started going into Manor. And at first, it was a different experience for him going into Manor, taking darshan of deities, kirtan, and the cultural aspect of it, say Krishna consciousness. But he himself is a very good musician. He plays very good music. He does very good kirtan, harmonium, kartal, and so he liked the kirtan in manner, and he started listening a bit more kirtan and playing for himself as well a bit more kirtan, and spend more time in manor. And then he started visiting manor even more regularly. And I remember he shared once he had one assignment or some project or some deadline to submit for his study. uh, he kind of done his schedule in a way that okay, I finish this in 2 hours, and then I can go to Manor and spend the whole Sunday program in Manor. And before coming into devotee association, all he used to do assignments, but never with such mood or intensity or in a way that okay, I finish it in 2 hours. Maybe it used to take him doing it in some chunks and all. But that time the motivation was so high, and he was traveling in a very good high energy level with devotee association, kirtan and all. So in a very neat, focused way, concentrated way, he managed to do his assignment within the time he wanted to do. And he spent the rest of the time in manner with devotees on a Sunday feast program. And he was very peaceful, very blissful, no pressure. So that's very nice. And steadily he then moved into manor, living in manor itself in the ashram, brahmachari ashram in Bhaktivedanta manor. Started attending the full morning program and all other programs, doing lots of services there. Then he attended the full Bhakti Shastri course he did in manor, and other helped in other services in outdoor preaching, Harinam. Well, at that time they were not doing much in COVID lockdown period. And thereafter, he studies in London. He happened to come to, actually, at that point, he was studying music in London. And then he came to Glasgow. And in the University of Glasgow, he enrolled himself for studying psychology. And he's our president of the Krishna Conscious Society in Glasgow University as well. So he conducted some retreats and programs in Glasgow University for university students. And it is in Karuna Bhavan that I had the chance of meeting Pada, I had the opportunity to meet Pada. And now we live together in the Brahmachari Ashram in Karuna Bhavan. And of all very good qualities, he's very dedicated, very sincere, very surrendered, um, never misses any program, and throughout engaged in services daily. And whenever he gets time, if you see him, he will take Bhagavatam out from library and sit wherever he is, sit and read Bhagavatam or listen to some classes. And nice mood of renunciation, nice mood of knowledge and service, and interested in philosophy, kirtan, and overall practice of Krishna consciousness. So it's very nice to have him with us, and yeah, we look forward to hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita from Padar Prabhu. His Grace Padar Prabhu ki jai. So Maybe I will hand over to Padar Prabhu now and request him to take us through. Huh?
Hare Krishna. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here, especially after an introduction like that by Ashish. He has this wonderful quality of seeing the good in everybody, even though he shares a room with me and sees all my faults and all the things he shouldn't see. Then no, just by being in his presence, you feel appreciated. So you're all very fortunate to get him instructing you on Bhagavad Gita every day. Yeah, I find the service that he does is very, very impressive. Actually, you know, we think of so many reasons why we can't preach. You know, it's COVID or we're busy, but he's always very, very fixed, finding any excuse to describe the glories of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, thank you for allowing me to be here today. Yeah. So do we get the
Put it on the screen. Okay. So chapter 2, text 47 or 48, we start from whichever you say.
chapter 47? We'll start.
Okay.
Yeah. First.
Maybe you can do invocation.
Yeah. Okay. So first we'll say the Mangala Charan. I'm not sure if devotees are welcome to join in if they know it. Om Jnanatamrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Gadambayam Daranti Swam Badantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinobando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Rate Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Prayamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Vyanepacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bhangam Langate Garam Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataram. So let's see the verse. It's best for me to read?
Yes, you can read Sanskrit and I can ask someone to read.
Okay, so reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, entitled The Contents of the Gita Summarized, verse 47. Karmanyevadhikaraste matpaleshu kadachana makarmapalo hetulbur mati sangustva karmani. Translation. Who should read? Harsha, please read.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Thank you. And you read the purport as well?
Should I read the purport?
Yes, please.
Okay. There are three considerations here: prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of material nature. Capricious work means actions without the sanction of authority. And inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised that Arjuna not be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into three subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of the scriptural injunctions without desire for results is action in the mode of goodness. Work with results becomes the cause of bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Work with results becomes the cause of bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly lead one to the path of liberation. Arjuna was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna.
Thank you very much, Asha. It's incredible, actually. Just beforehand I'd read this verse. I'd already read it. I thought I knew it, and I sort of looked over the purport. But then listening to you read it there in such a thoughtful and considerate way, you suddenly realise I hadn't actually read that purport.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's I think 2 lines you repeated, possibly accidentally, but they were very, very prominent lines. Like in the last paragraph, you repeated work. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. It's very
Yes,
interesting.
that's very important to remind ourselves.
Yeah, no, so thank you for highlighting that. Yeah, so this here is one of the more well-known verses of the Gita, and you can often see it quoted somewhat out of context, because ultimately we're reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhagavad Gita as translated and commented on by Srila Prabhupada in the line of the Acharyas that ultimately brings us towards Krishna. So oftentimes people can see a verse like this as a reason to simply put more focus on ordinary matters and forget the transcendental things, because Sri Krishna himself is saying that you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, and you should not be attached to the results of not doing your duty. You should not be attached to not doing your duty, because many worldly people, they look at the Hare Krishnas or any sorts of religious people as people who are running away from the problems of life, and oftentimes we are. It's very interesting. It's described. Krishna says, I think it's in the 7th chapter, Chatur Vida Bhajanti Mam, Jnana Sukritin Arjuna. There's 4 kinds of pious people who surrender unto Krishna, or they turn towards Krishna. And these are the Artha, the desire of wealth, Jigyasu, the inquisitive, the Artati, those who are distressed, and the Jnani, those in search of absolute truth. So many of us are are distressed like this, or we find our material situation somewhat troubling, therefore coming towards Krishna. But ultimately, we have to get beyond this basic level of just coming to Krishna as a result of being a little bit stressed. So people will perhaps look at devotees dancing down the street in Harinam and think, okay, these are people who are ignoring these problems. And if you just read this verse in Gita, then it would seem like, okay, these people actually are just ignoring that they're being attached to not doing their duty. Should they not have jobs? Should they not be being part of society like this? But ultimately, once we get the fuller picture of the Gita, we realize that surrendering unto Krishna is the highest duty. So it brings us to this important point of, the verse is translated here as duty. So what is duty? So maybe we could go around and people could maybe share what their duty is. Just personally, right now, reflect in your life and think, what is your duty? Okay, so maybe I'll just call out some names. Is that okay? So first, just on this list here, Anuja is here. Anuja, if you could tell me what is your duty?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So the question that I understood was, what is my duty? So my duty, I would say, I mean, with different persons, the role I play is different. Being a mother, my duty is different towards my child. Being a wife, my duty is different towards my husband, and so on. But if I think of uh, as a soul, my duty is to love and serve Krishna. That's what I've learned over my. That's what my understanding is over this journey.
Thank you very much, Anuja. So I'll just repeat for the devotees here so they can hear as well. Anuja saying that she has different duties depending upon different relationships. As a mother, she has specific duties. As a wife, she has duties. But ultimately, as a soul, she has a duty towards to love and to serve Krishna. So we see that there's different duties, but there's an ultimate duty. It's very nice. So next we'll go to Diksha. If you could share in your life, what is your duty? Okay. We'll go on to ask Harsha, if possible. You could tell me what your duty is.
Well, I think first of all, I try to be motivated and then perform my duty towards my home, my parents, my friends. And in the meanwhile, I have now started offering my duties to God as well.
No, thank you very much. So Harsha is saying she has different duties towards family, home, friends like this, but now she's trying to offer her duty. So I'm offering what she does towards Krishna, which is beautiful. You can tell. This is the potency of hearing from a realized soul like a Ashish Prabhu. All the answers I'm getting are perfect. Next, who would like to speak? I'm not sure if everyone's free to speak, but
When I will ask Sudha and Sushila maybe, and they can speak in
I'm so sorry, I was out for some call. What was the question?
oh, Hare Krishna Diksha.
Hare
We're
Krishna.
asking, Haribol, we're asking what is our duty? So right now in our own lives, if we reflect, what do we feel is our duty? Maybe let me phrase it another way. What's the most important thing for us? What we feel we have to put all our energy in, you know?
I think the most important thing is that we understand who we are and how we are connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and what sort of relationship we are having. And once we understand that, once we establish, then the only thing is that we love them in all ways, in all sort of parts.
Thank you very much. So Dix is saying to know who we are, our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then to love. This is very nice. Sudha? Is it?
बताइए आपका व्यक्तिगत पूछा है
हरे कृष्णा। प्रभु जी मैं तो इंग्लिश में तो बोल नहीं सकती हूँ, हिंदी में बोल सकती हूँ।
ठीक है
मैं तो सबके प्रति सब ड्यूटी तो सबकी है ही है, सबको अलग अलग सबके साथ में करनी पड़ती है। परिवार में, भौतिक लाइफ में तो सबके साथ है ही है ड्यूटी, जो जैसे जिसे निभानी होती है सबको निभानी पड़ती है। लेकिन कृष्ण को मध्य नजर रखकर और हम सब काम करें कि जो भी है भोक्ता तो कृष्णा ही है सब कुछ का, सब चीज का, तो उसको मध्य नजर के काम करे तो वो कृष्ण के अर्पण होते हुए हमें कोई दोष नहीं लगता वो ड्यूटीज करे तो। आवाज नहीं आ रही है प्रभु जी आपकी।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी। अब आ रही होगी आवाज?
ये आ रही है।
हाँ, तो Father Prabhu and Pip Kelly and others. So Mataji mentioned like every one of us, we have got our duties, individual duties like looking after family, children and society at large and things like that. But if within those duties, if we can keep Krishna in the center of our lives, and that is what Mataji aspires to, and that is what actually she does, keeping Krishna at the center of our life, then if we can fulfill all our duties and we find more motivation in fulfilling those duties, then and that is the right way of doing our duty. Otherwise we are lost in this material world. And briefly I will mention Mataji and her husband Prabhuji. They came to Vrindavan in 2018 or 2019, शायद 2018 या 19 में आए थे ना. So they came to Vrindavan for, I mean, they've been coming to Vrindavan previously as well and been in devotee touch association for more than 20-25 years. But Mataji and her husband came to Vrindavan in 2018 में या 19 में आए थे, कार्तिक में.
18 में आए थे, 2 साल तो यही कोविड के कारण ही रह गए और उसके पहले 2 साल कंटिन्यू आए थे 18-19
So I think in 2018 and more so Prabhuji for her husband, he came to Vrindavan and he met devotees. Previously also he knew and all, but when he spent 3-4 days or rather extended his stay in Vrindavan, and he so much liked that environment in Kartik time in Vrindavan that when he went to Mumbai and then when he was going in his factory in office, he was putting tilak and going, and he told to his daughter like, what am I doing? I'm the boss of this factory, I'm the boss of the office, and why shouldn't I put tilak and go? So I should put tilak and go. And then he started waking up early in the morning, doing Japan. Very soon, if not straight away, very soon he came into chanting 16 rounds, and in the evening and Sunday, like offering some food, and he started listening to classes and very rapid advancement. And Mataji, she has been practicing even before, and now they both and the whole family is kind of even more Krishna conscious now. धन्यवाद माता जी। और कुछ आप बोलना चाहोगे क्या?
नहीं बस।
हरे कृष्ण। सुधा माता जी आप बताएं। हरे कृष्णा। सुधा माता जी आप बोल पाओगे क्या? और प्रश्न वही है कि हमारे जीवन में क्या कर्तव्य है, संसारी रूप से भी क्या ऐसे अलग अलग कर्तव्य हैं, अगर कुछ एक कर्तव्य हो तो, और मुख्य कर्तव्य क्या है, सबसे मुख्य है? Okay, maybe Father Prabhu, I will hand it over to you. She may struggle to speak and maybe a bit late as well for her in India.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone, for your answers. You've you've clearly already digested Bhagavad Gita. You're living it, but it's very interesting. We see most people in their answers, they've referred to two different things. On one hand, they have their duty to their family members, children, husbands, like this, their home, their friends, and these duties are sort of, there's a multitude of them. We can think, different relationships. Each of these has a different duty. We have different jobs, and then we're paying mortgages and like this. And then the other one that most people refer to is a relationship with Krishna, and putting that in our center of our life. So there's these two things going on at once, and these have names. Ultimately, the duty that's dealing with, our family or sort of current circumstances is called swadharma, and this is, well, it's interesting because we have to understand what we are. We understand first in the Gita, it says, "Dehi nosminyata dehi," we're not this body, we're the soul. And dharma, this word is often translated duty, means to sustain. So if we're just a soul, then why do we engage in so many other activities which are sustaining the body and the mind? So we see, like, maybe having to go work and pay the mortgage and look after the children. These things are, they're not ultimately in reference to the soul. So why do we have to do them? Which is a somewhat far out thing to say, because everybody knows, if you don't eat, then you're going to die. If you don't look after your children, then you'll be the cause of so much suffering. But depending upon our level of realization, signifies how much we have to engage in these two different forms of duty. So interestingly, in this verse, in the Sanskrit, was karman evadikara ste, the first line. So adhikar refers to one's level. What sort of level of devotee they are. Here it's translated as a right. So for Arjuna, he has a right to perform. He has a right to perform his duty. But we see people are on different adhikars. So we think of someone who's completely unaware of Krishna consciousness. Your typical Kali Yuga specimen, not to be condescending. But someone they're fully convinced that they're the body. They believe, completely against the idea of any supreme personality. They think that they're God for all intents and purposes. Something like this. They will only really have one duty in their heads, and this will just be looking after their body, their mind, and what's connected with their body. Therefore, they might extend themselves to looking after family members, or if they're, feeling very philanthropic, they'll donate some money to, refugees or like this. But it's still very much on the bodily concept. They're performing one duty, the swadharma, this temporary duty. But in the level up, if we think of devotees who have knowledge that, okay, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is, Bhaktaram Yagatapasam. He is the of all sacrifices and he's the enjoyer. and ultimately everything we do should be for him. But we're not fully realized this, because we can read the Gita, we can read Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can understand, okay, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have a duty towards him, and we can act in such a way. But it's interesting that one of the first stages in devotional service is called Bhajana Kriya, like performing the activities of devotion. But we're performing the activities without full realization. Is in the morning we always say this prayer to the Vaishnavas: Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhinebhacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And you bow down, but how much do you mean it? Like, I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill all the desires. I'd say with so many of the activities we do in devotional service, they're somewhat on the surface. We go through the activity, we offer our food, it's like, okay, I've cooked some prasad, I followed all the rules, I put it on the altar, I ring a bell, I say some prayers, there you go, prasadam. And it's somewhat the activities, but we're not fully convinced, or we're not fully aware of the deep heartfelt conviction that, Krishna is eating this food and is allowing me to have the remnants. When we're chanting the holy name, okay, part of us thinking, 16 rounds, we're not thinking like, this name is non-different from Krishna. He is listening so much more intently than we are. But nonetheless, we're still going through the activities because we have knowledge. We have knowledge that we are the soul, and we can have different motivations for engaging in this devotional service. Ultimately, it can be at a basic level. Maybe there's some fear. We don't want repercussions. This is very, basic. But ultimately, it goes beyond. Maybe we have, a sense of duty. This is what we should do. But we've not reached the level yet of, at least personally, of love, of a sense of, I have to. No, this is why we practice. It's called sadhana bhakti, regulated, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Regulated, following a set program, because we don't have this overflowing love. But by engaging in this process, it's described like the child has the propensity to walk. So all of us as spirit souls, we are eternal Christian servants of Krishna, with overflowing with love for him. But because we're covered by the material energy, we have to engage in these activities. And slowly, by engaging in these activities, this love will awaken. And so it's very interesting. Like, if someone is a brand new devotee, what do? They put their hand in a big bag, chant Hare Krishna, they offer their food, they go to Mangalarti, they read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. And then you look at someone who's, pure devotee, what do? They put their hand in the bead bag, they go to Mangalarti, they offer their food, they read Bhagavad Gita. And it's exactly the same activities, but what is different is the conviction, is the mood, is the mindset. But we're rest assured of, by engaging in this process, we can see advanced devotees that, you just do it and then hopefully the fruit comes. Not that we're attached to the fruit though, as this indicates. So that's us describing these first two levels. First is the conditioned soul with no knowledge, who's just entirely convinced about the body. So he's just engaged in swadharma, this temporary duty. So next up, well, I guess maybe even below that, there's those who don't even have any duty, but I guess we'll ignore them for now. So we have the conditioned soul who's just dealing with the temporary duty. Then we have the soul, we can say the soul in knowledge, and this constitutes most devotees. So we have knowledge of what identifying with the body. We're still engaging in so many different, bodily entities and whatnot. And so the third level we could say is the fully realized soul. Now maybe I could ask, Anuja, would it be possible? Anuja, what do you think is for the self-realized soul? How many duties do they have? Do they deal with the Swadharma, the temporary duty to the body, the Sanatan Dharma, both, one, none? What's your thoughts? Yeah, anyone, if you feel free to answer if you have any thoughts. I could open it up to devotees here. We have His Grace Ishan Prabhu and Pip Prabhu. Either of you think, for a fully self-realized soul, how many duties do they have?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anuja.
As far as I understand, to chant, to preach the holy name,
Sorry, Anuja, could you maybe repeat? You're saying to chant and to read?
to preach.
To preach.
Mummy, yes, to chant and to preach at the same
Chant.
point. Yeah. To take the shelter of pure devotees, to be in the association of good devotees.
Thank you very much. I'll just repeat for the devotees here so they can hear. Anuja is saying they have a duty to chant and to preach and to be in the association of pure devotees. That's what I get to do right now. I'm surrounded by pure devotees. I get to preach to them. I can't chant, but apart from that, yeah. So, Pippa, you wanted to say something? I'll repeat for devotees online. Pip Prabhu is saying, when we have pure love for Krishna, it's a spontaneous, overflow. We're not. It's not a sense of duty of having to do something. It's that we can't help but chant. You hear of, the Goswamis between each mouthful when they eat prasadam, they're chanting. They can't stop it. Lord Chaitanya, he's trying to hold his tongue when he's in the bathroom. He's it's a bit muchy, to be honest, but yeah, because ultimately, at the end of the Gita, Krishna says, "Sarva dharma prityaja," give up all dharma and surrender unto me. It's very interesting, because what does he mean by dharma? Is it our swadharma, this sense of, okay, I am a son, I have a duty to provide for my parents, maybe I'm married, like we're an ashram like this. You could understand a Krishna saying get beyond that. But Sanatan Dharma, is he saying to get beyond our eternal duty of being a servant of Krishna? And I don't really know the answer, but I think what Pip's saying is, yeah, it's our natural propensity, because in the material nature we're like fish out of water. Everything's unnatural for us. Whereas when you come to the liberated platform, then you can't help but serve Krishna. But so we also see Krishna himself, because there's no soul who's more self-realized than Krishna. He's far beyond material contamination. But when Krishna himself comes to the material world, what does he do? Right now, he's a Kshatriya on a battlefield. He's fully engaged in his duty, because being a Kshatriya, being a husband, being a wife, this is swadharma, this is temporary duty. Because ultimately, for all of us right now, you could be you could be a son, but then soon you'll be a father, or then you'll die and you could be a daughter. Like, this is constantly changing, so it's temporary duty. But when Krishna comes, he performs this temporary duty. But more so, he says, forgive me, I cannot remember the verse, you will know it, but if Krishna says, if I did not perform this duty, the whole world would be led to ruination. As great men do, ordinary men follow. So this idea that even though personalities may be fully self-realized and beyond material contamination, they still engage in, sort of the mundane actions of, being a father, being a daughter, like this, simply to set a precedent. Because for us to perhaps take shelter of varnashrams, this idea of, okay, if I'm a wife, I have a duty towards my husband. Until we're fully self-realized, it's very beneficial. This is like varnashram described as, it's a crutch to help us in our devotional service, because we do not have this, Pip was saying, this spontaneous overflow. We're not just full of spontaneous love for God. So we have to fit into this scaffold of, okay, right now I will serve this person and try and keep Krishna in the center of my life. So we see great personalities, even though they're beyond having to deal with temporary duties, they still do it just to set an example. But of course, this isn't always the case. There's, I think there's an example of Sridhar Swami, who wrote the commentary, the first commentary in the Bhagavatam. It's a really nice story. He was grihastha, family man. I was thinking, okay, should I take sannyas? He wants to go take sannyas, but his family's not, his children are not married and things like this. I think he has young children and lots of duties in this sense. And he's contemplating in his mind, and he looks out and he sees a lizard, a mother lizard, and this lizard, as he's watching, gives birth to a baby lizard, little baby lizard, and then lo and behold, the mother lizard gets killed. I think a bird comes and eats it or something like that. So he, just as he's watching, he's contemplating in his mind of, okay, I want to leave my family, but I have these duties to perform, and going like this. He just sees this scene in front of him. This mother gives birth to the baby lizard, and then boom, the mother's gone, and the baby's looking around, just he's lost. And he goes like this, and he's watching, trying to work out what's going to happen. And it goes on for some time, and then the baby lizard just sticks out his tongue and catches a fly. And he sees, okay, the lizard already has in it the propensity to care for itself. And for him, this is enough for him to realize, okay, my family, they will be taken care of by Krishna. And he goes and he takes sannyas. And he's one of our acharyas. It's very interesting. Not many people can act like this, because he is ultimately a sense. He's so fully realized that he's fully convinced that Krishna will take care. And he's not running away from any problems. Whereas most of us, we're going to say, yes, I'm going to take sannyas. It's like, oh, why? Well, Well, I've got some university assignments coming up quite soon, and I just, yeah, I don't want to be snitty. I don't want to. I don't have to clean the ashram anymore. You know, if I'm a sannyasi, they want to. You know, we have so many things we're running away from, and these are disqualifications for, you know, for having that sort of renunciation. But we see even the example of Srila Prabhupada. You know, he took sannyas when before his children were married. Yeah, and he left his family in some difficulty, and in all these ways, this sort of temporary duty was superseded by, you know, he's having dreams from a spiritual master to take sannyas, and you know, he has a higher mission, and also you can see how by Prabhupada fulfilling that higher mission, he has done so much good for so many people. But then we have to be careful because we have to follow, not imitate. You know, Prabhupada gives the example of but to follow the instructions of Krishna and not imitate. We cannot lift the hill at the age of 7 with just our pinky. But this point I always find quite interesting because on one hand, Krishna is setting the example for us to imitate when he's performing his prescribed duties. And I'm generally not quite sure the answer to this. Why is it that Krishna, you know, goes around being, you know, being a grihastha, being a kshatriya, and you know, we read in the Krishna book how he's getting up early in the morning and performing all these different ceremonies and offering shraddha, like all this, he's doing all these duties for us to imitate. But ultimately, Krishna cannot be imitated because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can, you know, lift up hills and expand himself 16,108 times to fully satisfy all of his wives and maybe what did you have some realization on this idea of imitating versus following?
Thank you, bro. Very nice points you are bringing up, and I don't think so. I mean, just what comes to my head with terms of imitation and following. Well, imitation is something which wouldn't last. If we are imitating something, but there is no purification of the heart, then it wouldn't last. So, like, okay, I may imitate. Okay, let me join ashram. Then I'm free from paying bills, taxes, and this and that and all. But if internally, if I've not grown or if I've not purified, then it wouldn't last. Like it says in Bhagavad Gita as well, then there will be more chaos in the society. Um, and Krishna, whatever he does, like the primary is to give joy to his devotees, and he does it with that mood, like to please his devotees and all. So he's playing the role of a householder, a kshatriya, and through this battlefield and all, he's fulfilling the desire of Arjuna as well. Arjuna chose Krishna. He's protecting uh, the vow or sanctity of Arjuna or Bhima as well, that okay, I take a vow that I will kill all the sons of Dhritarashtra, and like for Bhishma Pitama as well, he's also fulfilling his desire. So when he lives like as a householder as well, he's more giving joy to his wives and everyone. And at the same time, like he does one thing and spreads many messages. But for us is where this is why, like going through the teachings of acharyas through scriptures, we understand, okay, no, lifting Govardhan hill is not for us, rather for us is to glorify how Krishna kindly lifted the Govardhan hill, and we have to take shelter under him. And what is for us? Yes, rising up early in the morning and doing our morning duties and everything. So that is what, and by doing those, following those, there will be a purification in the heart, and which will help us come more closer to Krishna. But if we cheaply try to imitate, then imitate wouldn't last for long. And Krishna, through all this, he shows, look, you can never be what I am. It is only Krishna who can afford and easily afford to do all of this at the same time. All of this. So to show as well his supremacy, his dominance, that I am the only one, the singular, the original singular personality of Godhead. So you can never be what I am, but through his Leela, he tries to attract our attention and invokes that loving response or reciprocation for us and helps us understand what is our constitutional position. Something on those lines. This helps.
So thank you, Ashish, for it's very nice to get some clear Shastra. You feel secure when Ashish is talking. You know, it's a sense of you've taken shelter. You know, I trust everything he's saying. Yeah. So thank you for putting up with me so far today. It's very interesting, this idea of imitation is not sustainable. Because ultimately dharma means sustenance. Yeah, because you read about the Goswamis, was it Nijahara, I don't know, but the the 6 Goswamis from Vrindavan, they're beyond sleep, eating, illness. You know, they're sleeping. Sometimes I think Raghunath Das Goswami was just forgetting to sleep. You know, they're forgetting to eat. You know, and their bodies were suffering as a result of it because they still have, in one sense, they do still have material bodies, although they're fully liberated souls. You know, it described that they were sort of they would shake. They were so frail and skinny. You know, there's stories of specifically Raghunath Das Goswami. He's chanting he's chanting his rounds out in the blazing heat in Vrindavan during the summer, and he's completely oblivious to this. He's out in the middle of the sun. He's completely oblivious, and then is it Sanatan Goswami? Looks over and sees Srimati Radharani holding her veil to cover Raghunath Das Goswami to give him shade, and she herself is perspiring because of this heat. And then so Sanatan, he chastises Raghunath Das Goswami, says, "You fool! Srimati Radharani herself is serving you." So this is why then they build Bhajan Katirs. Because we're not on this level, so it comes back to this point of Adhikar, as mentioned in this verse. Like for Arjuna, of course, Arjuna is an eternal associate of Krishna. He's performing a particular pastime of being a Kshatriya and then being confused about his duty and whatnot. But currently, you know, it's his Adhikar to fight, and you know, Krishna is instructing him to fight and not be so worried about the results. You know, and so that this is for him is what is best, and yeah, and this idea of it's sustainable, because if you act at a level that's lower than what you are, then you know you'll become further and further away from Krishna, become more an illusion. And this is what's so great about the Bhagavad Gita is it's not just like one solution fits all. Of course, when you read Prabhupada's purports, it sort of is one solution fits all. You know, Prabhupada is very much just Sarva Dharma Pratyaja, the emphasis on surrendering to Krishna, because yeah, it's Kali Yuga, and you know, we're only here by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and chanting the holy names. And but the Gita is giving answers depending on, it's a conversation, you know, and depending on what level one's at, there's this whole idea of the yoga ladder. So whether one can just perform the duties and then give them to Krishna. So say you want to do a specific thing, you know, a specific thing, you're attached to doing a particular work like this, you do that, and you give the results to Krishna. And there's different levels, and you can maybe, I can't, there's Sam, I can't remember the different names. Nishkam Karma Yoga. I think this verse specifically is when we're getting to Nishkam, when you perform your duties without any attachment and then giving it to Krishna. But it ultimately gets to the stage of, you know, if you're a Raganuga, when you're just fully spontaneously, you know, serving Krishna. But you know, it's not like one solution fits all, because most people are not at this level. So we perform these other processes, which then raises up to this level. And ultimately, we should never be too attached to just one process, because it's a gradual elevation. You know, no one just stays somewhere on a ladder. It'd be quite strange if you see someone just halfway up a ladder doing nothing. They're either going up or they're going down. So if we keep in mind that the goal is to be fully surrendered and spontaneously loving Krishna, then in this way we won't take a verse like this out of context. So I think that sort of clarified these different duties we have as conditioned souls, depending on where we are. This idea of adhikar. But yeah, so for the Goswamis, it's actually sustainable to forget your bodily needs, beyond just forgetting your duty to your family and your country and your government. Beyond that, they're forgetting their duty to their body. Like so many of us. Okay, yeah. Maybe I could forget, forget my duty as a son or as a wife or like that. But to forget to eat, like it's quite hard because the body is just is very much prominent in our consciousness. But these devotees are so advanced that they're beyond this level, and therefore it is sustainable for them to engage in this way. And you see, like, even many devotees within ISKCON, they're they're not caring for their health as much as they should be. Like, I remember quite shocked because I was into sort of yoga and different things before becoming a devotee, and you see many devotees, like they're going to bed not getting enough sleep, or they're rushing around everywhere, or they're eating foods they should, and it's not. But ultimately, this isn't a society for just looking after your health. It's a society for ultimately becoming pure devotees of Krishna. And so you see that many devotees, Krishna says, what does Krishna say? I carry what you like. What's that verse? Nachaham tish. No. I carry what you lack. Ananyas chintayantumam yejana paripashati nichai tisham duyuktanam. He's not carrying what I lack just now. Yoga Shema Vahamyam. Yes. He's generally carrying Vaham. Thank you. It's amazing having Ashish Prabhu here. Ashish Prabhu, he carries what I lack. He's a representative of Krishna and he's carrying. My memory's not so good. I need to drink more milk. Yeah, so many devotees, maybe are perhaps not looking after their health as much as they should be, but Krishna carries what they lack, depending upon their level of surrender. If devotees are just willing to think, okay, Krishna, I'm gonna do a bit devotional service as a wee sort of trade-off thing or reciprocation. Therefore, you look after these other issues of mine. Then Krishna's not really gonna do it because ultimately, it's a personal relationship. He doesn't want to just be an order supplier. The material energy is already working as Krishna's order supplier, giving us everything that we desire. All this body, this mind. This is all ultimately, a result of our slightly undesirable choices. But yeah, true dharma is sustainable for the individual. Because we all have to act, so we just have to follow the Gita's instructions and act accordingly. So maybe we should go into. Oh yeah. If there's any questions or comments or corrections or chastisements, please send them my way. I deserve many.
So I was just trying to ask you about the occupational duty or the fundamental duties. Is it that we have to do all at the same time and still not get demotivated and carry forward without wanting some fruit or maybe some results out of it?
Yeah, so Harsh is asking if we should be acting, this idea of acting without desire for the fruits, then therefore losing motivation. So again, it's a very, very important question because the whole material world ultimately is acting on this basis of getting some reward for what you do. the whole, especially in modern society, is very much focused upon, you know, you doing your work. You know, you can elevate yourself. No, it doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter anything like this, but you can elevate yourself to get what you want in life. There's very much this sort of the whole education system. You see children from a very, very young age are sort of taught that, okay, you do this, you get a good result, you know, you eat your dinner, then you get some chocolate. That is a constant reward thing. And this is often how we do anything. So Krishna knows this. And it's very interesting, you know, Prabhupada, when he comes, chant and be happy. You know, chant, be happy. You do something, you get reward. And you experience it at first. You chant, you be happy, eat prasadam. It's incredible. Devotees seem to be the nicest people you ever met in your life. The deities look beautiful. It's very many rewards. And this is there, and it gives us lots of motivation. But then we'll see that Krishna starts to say, okay, here's your reward now. I'm going to take a step back and let's see if you'll still chant. You know, I heard one devotee saying, like, he was out distributing books and he was having a tough day and he sort of just wanted to tell the truth. You know, he was giving it, he was saying to me, you know, just chant, be happy, like this. And he was like, just chant and go through the hardest struggle you'll go through in your life. Give up everything you own. You know, have deep existential questions about who you are, what you're doing in life. You know, be heart wrenchingly having to serve people that you're feeling that you just can't. You're trying to explain that there's so much else involved, but still we're chanting. Because Krishna, he does want to see how much we love him. So you can take a step back and say, okay, we still do these devotional activities when there's no reward. And this is where we make the most advancement, it said. And it's described, I was listening today actually in one class, Ramananda Roy was quoting this verse saying that Krishna is unable to repay the love that the gopis have shown him. You know, Krishna, it says in the Gita, Ye yatamam prapajante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. As all surrender unto me, I reward accordingly. So Krishna is rewarding everyone according to how much they surrender unto him. But for the gopis, because they have so much unconditional love, he's unable to repay because they're not serving him with any desire for, you know, for anything apart from his pleasure. You know, we become devotees thinking, yeah, maybe okay, you want some relief from suffering, okay, we want to be happy, or maybe a bit higher, we want to become, you know, go back to Godhead. You know, there is something we're wanting, and this is fine because ultimately we're conditioned souls that have so many different desires. So returning to Krishna is a very, very good thing. But the gopis are far beyond that. They are beyond any desire whatsoever. And so Krishna is unable to repay them, but they're just satisfied by seeing Krishna happy. And we see this as well in our devotional service, because Krishna is situated in the heart. You know, it's not some. It took me a long time, not that I realized it yet, but you often hear Krishna's in the heart. You know, super souls in the heart. I think, oh, that's nice. You know, because people often say in the material world, "Oh, you're my heart," or Edinburgh is in my heart. You know, there's anything. Ice cream is in my heart. It's because it means you like something. But it's like, no, literally, Krishna is situated as a Paramatma within our heart. So when he's happy, that happiness, we can actually feel it. You know, so when we do some service, it's interesting. Like this whole weekend, there's many devotees here for a retreat. Very nice to see so many different, a lot of new devotees as well. And I got the privilege of serving them prasadam quite a lot. It was such a nice service, and you notice that you're okay, because of course sometimes maybe you're hungry, you've had a busy day, and there's a feast cooked. You know, okay, I quite fancy, you know, paneer. Like, this is what's on my mind. But no, you have to serve all these devotees and make sure they're all satisfied and fed. But the happiness you feel from doing this activity outweighs by far the happiness you feel from eating a feast. It's very interesting, and actually, you often find once you've served devotees, you no longer have this intense greed for the feast, because you see, like when you're making someone else happy, and ultimately you're making devotees happy, and Krishna loves this more than anything else, then Krishna in the heart, he's smiling, you know, and this is our true happiness. You know, this happiness of like me tucking into a feast. It's not, okay, of course it's prashadam, so it's transcendental, but that's not really true happiness because it's about me. Whereas when you're making Krishna happy, then just naturally. I was having this one realization today when I was cleaning the temple room, and so we offer all these flowers to Prabhupada. And there's really nice flowers. There's sort of roses today that have been offered. Uh, but in my head, there's sort of this little environmentalist thing. It's like, so why have you just picked the flowers and just put them here? When surely it'd be good for the bees and the insects if they're still just out in the, they left them out in the gardens. And this thought was in my head. But I realized that, okay, so we grow all these flowers for the deities and for Prabhupada for doing our ceremonies and things. Uh, and yeah, we're picking them. And yeah, okay, maybe environmentally, for each of these flowers, it would be not so good to pick. But because we're offering them to Krishna, we've got this whole situation, because we're currently in Kurunavavan, which is, you know, is Vrindavan. It's a beautiful landscape, which is doing way, way much more for the environment and for the insects than 99% of the world is doing. You know, they're living in houses in the city, you know, driving lots of cars and living in big factories. And so you see that naturally, once you're doing things for Krishna, then all the subsidiary problems are taken care of. It's very interesting. But yeah, coming back to your question, Harsha. So I got a little bit sidetracked. Because even our, you know, material duties like, you know, going to work and providing, paying the mortgage like this, yeah, without results, there's different stages. So when we're still desiring results, we can offer them to Krishna. You say that, okay, I want to do very well in my work, get some promotion, get a higher salary. You know, if we're materially motivated like that, we can still engage in that and offer it to Krishna. And this process of offering to Krishna purifies one to come to the stage where naturally you'll find you're not so worried about that anymore. And this is the whole philosophy of the Gita. You know, this is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Is it's not one rule fits all. It's just engage your nature, your level of what you're at, and just, you know, you put Krishna into the center of anything, and Krishna purifies everything, no matter what it is. You know, there's in the early days devotees, you know, they couldn't stop drinking alcohol. And Prabhupada saying, you know, well, Krishna's a taste of wine, and it purifies them. You know, the drinking alcohol is one of the 4 regulative principles of breaking. But just by putting Krishna there, it becomes purified. And so you see that, I mean, you've probably experienced this in your own life. I've definitely experienced it. That, you know, you come to devotional service, you start chanting, eating prashadam, dancing, associating with devotees, and before you know it, you can do things you never thought possible. Like, so you find, okay, actually, I don't need to eat these foods, or I don't need to take intoxication. It's just like, of course, we all have our own things we need to work on, and I definitely myself have some attachments which aren't going away so quickly. But a lot of the things just very easy once you put Krishna there. You know, it's just things are uh, easy. Susukam kartanaviyam. It's a joyful process. Uh, but yeah, if how does that answer your question? Probably not very much. If you could maybe, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, you well comprehended it. I got the gist out of it. So basically, everything goes, I mean, it gets debited in the good books of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
And he is aware and like knows everything, whatever we do, if we take him into concentration. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this. So I'll just repeat. Harsha saying Krishna knows everything that we're doing. So he takes everything into consideration. Nothing's forgotten. You know, Krishna doesn't forget the smallest little service someone offers to him. But the other thing, which I'm not sure it's scary, but it's interesting, is, you know, it's not just the external activity that Krishna takes account of. He also takes account of the mood in which we do it. So we can find yeah, you hear stories. I remember hearing there's one Mataji in Vrindavan, and she was sitting at one of the temples in the shoe room and just put people's shoes away. You know, and it's such an easy thing. Like I could do that. I could sit in the temple room and sort out people's shoes and remember whose shoes are whose. But she's doing it with as a pure devotee. And many senior devotees have commented on this Mataji. Do you know the details of the story? I can't fully remember, but she's just doing it. She's done that service for so long. I think physically she was disabled as well, because her consciousness is, she's just serving devotees in the holy dham. This is so elevated. Whereas, yeah, so Krishna doesn't just take the external activity. He takes the mood as well. Because we can see, like, if I say, like, Harsha, well, I can't see you just now, but say you got a new jacket, and I say, nice jacket, like that. You won't be feeling, whoa, he appreciates what I've done, Whereas if I said, oh, nice jacket, you're gonna be thinking, oh yeah, do you see now I've got a nice jacket like this? So it's the same activity, but it's done in a very
The
different mood.
tonal quality. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That
the same
creates
with
a
our,
difference. It does.
so it's the same with our devotional service, and ultimately everything for devotee, everything should be devotional service. 24 hours a day. Tesham Satata Yuktanam, like this sort of constant serving. So, of course, we have to eat and, look after our body like this, but ultimately we're doing it for Krishna. So he's aware of everything that we're doing and the mood in which we're doing it. So if I'm just thinking of myself that I was a bit tired today, and then I was clearing up and things and serving, and you sort of you're doing it a sort of robotic way. There's not really any love. Whereas compared to previous, I remember when I was brand new devotee and I got to clean just corridors and things. I was just like, whoa, the dust of the Vaishnava, all this. I probably made a lot of advancement from that. Whereas now you take it for granted then. So I'm getting sidetracked, but I heard this one story. There's one senior brahmachari at the manor, and when he was young Bhakta, he just joined. He was clearing corridors as well. He was sweeping up the dust, and then one very senior devotee comes along, and then he says, I think you're the most exalted service, and he goes down and he sticks his finger in this dust, and he gets in his finger, and then he licks it. He says the dust of the Vaishnavas. He walks away. But yeah, don't have that consciousness at all. You just see it as so much dust. Where does it come from? Cursing everybody. But Jai. Okay, any questions from you? Yeah. No, thank you for your question, Harsha.
Thank you.
What time is this going to? We've only done one verse, but it's okay. We can... But I think I've been speaking too much. Okay. So,
Prabhuji, are there any gloomy days when you feel low and you don't want to do anything?
So Mataji is asking if there's days when I feel low, unmotivated, don't want to do anything, and that is definitely there. Yeah, when your alarm goes off and there's just no sound, it's more heart-wrenching than that. And devotees are smiling at you and you're going, and the prasad, like, how did they cook this again? It's burnt. And yeah, I feel like that sometimes. But ultimately, it's in situations like this where when we still perform our duty, that we make a lot of advancement. Because if we're feeling so much taste for the holy name, then it's easy to chant. You can chant 64 rounds and you feel happy. And of course, there's a lot of advancement that comes from that. But when you have absolutely no taste for the holy name, you can't sit still. You're falling asleep and you're just, everything's going against you. But then to still, put your heart on the line for Krishna, then he appreciates that. And you do actually, you get some reciprocation. I find personally for myself, because I like dancing in kirtan until I'm in a bad mood, and then I want nothing more than to dance. And devotees are smiling and trying to get you to dance, and you're because when you're unmotivated, dancing is such a hard thing. It's very interesting. Like, people see devotees dancing in the street and think they're just madmen, but we're performing. This is the highest duty. It's great if someone's dancing while chanting Krishna's names, and the Lord comes and embraces them. This dancing is transcendental, but you just sometimes feel so against dancing. But then to force yourself to dance, I find personally, this is when you begin to see you do feel some reciprocation. You sort of have to open yourself up to the kirtan, to the holy names, and just force yourself to step forward, step back. Very simple dances, and you won't start twirling. You won't do anything fancy. You force yourself in this way, and it's a metaphor for life. Okay, many times we're unmotivated. We can't just get up and go, and but still, just to take those steps, just do the basics, and we're doing it for Krishna. Then we do feel a deeper sense of reciprocation, and this encourages us, therefore, in times when we're unmotivated, to still keep acting. And slowly we begin to raise our standards. Now, this is the process of Krishna consciousness, as described. The Gita is giving this ladder. So it's a ladder for progression. So we're getting better and better, constantly moving closer and closer to pure devotion to Krishna. So maybe, initially in devotional service, we have days where we're just fully exuberant and just blissful. And then, the next day we just can't stand anything. We're just going to leave. It's like this. But then slowly these extremes, they fade away. But we gradually become more and more steady and fixed. And just every day you're willing to serve. Chanting 16 rounds becomes, it's fine. Even if you're feeling bad, then you can still do it, no bother. And slowly we just begin to keep increasing, and our lifestyle begins to mold itself in such a way that we know what will unmotivate us, so we avoid it. If we spend time with the wrong people, if we start, not appreciating devotees like this. But yeah, it's a very poignant point. So thank you, Harsha, for bringing that up. How about yourself? Do you ever feel unmotivated?
Sorry, what did you say?
How about yourself? Do you ever feel unmotivated?
Not much, rarely, I would say.
Oh,
But then
nice.
those days are very difficult because, even if it happens once in a blue moon, you're not used to it. And then you feel it's so difficult to surpass that whole phase. And I think probably it happens because I stay in my own comfort zone. So it's always very conditioned and stable. But sometimes you get some different openings in life, and then comes the real challenge or the reality check.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I need to learn and broaden my horizon quite a bit so that I can evolve as a better individual, maybe.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea, comfort zones, because yeah, Krishna doesn't like you to be too comfortable.
Yeah,
So,
we have to learn that.
yeah, but nah, you'll probably know this better than I do. But you know, he's got a plan for each of us, and he's sort of gradually bringing us all towards him. So he'll be dragging us out of our comfort zones, each in our own way. You know, we've all got our own comforts, and he's just the more we chant, the better rounds we chant, the more he's chipping away at these little comforts. He's not letting us stay still. We're gonna make us dance. Any comments here? Or Well, I'll just repeat the question again. So His Grace Pippa is asking, uh, this is a very nice question, because it says here that routine work performed as an obligation in terms of the scriptural injunctions without desire for results is action in the mode of goodness. But we find, you know, elsewhere in the Gita, that even the mode of goodness is binding. One becomes, you know, attached to thinking that they know everything, or you know, they have a very nice life, and still they can go to the heavenly planets, but it's still material. Uh, and this is true. Ultimately, you know, this aspect, this part of the Gita, you know, especially when we go into the third chapter, you know, karma yoga, it's about working in knowledge. So depending on if we work in knowledge, uh, because most people are sort of blind how they work. It's just sort of satisfying the senses, or sort of, you know, like an animal. They do something. Whereas when one gets spiritual knowledge and begins to understand, okay, I'm the soul and the servant of Krishna, and they work with this consciousness, uh, this is what frees one from the work, because they're no longer thinking that, you know, it says prakriti kriyamana, like this idea that I am the doer. One who gets beyond this, then the bondage isn't there. So mode of goodness is sort of, it's like calming the waters, because when the waters are very agitated, all the sediments and the mud comes up and you can't see nothing. It's like, you know, mode of ignorance, mode of passion. You can't see anything. It's and this way it will bring one down. Uh, whereas mode of goodness, you're calming everything, which is allowing you to come to this platform of knowledge, and from this platform of knowledge, then eventually we can get beyond the mode of goodness. But it's not possible to get beyond the mode of goodness when one is completely bewildered by the modes of material nature. This is why the Gita doesn't let you just stop at the mode of goodness, because he's trying to get beyond karma yoga. It gets, you know, to Bhakti yoga, which ultimately is, you know, Shuddha Sattva is transcendental. If that answers. Uh, uh, well, I think we'll finish here. Is it okay? I've got one other call with this. So, thank you everyone for tolerating my speculations and else what else. Srila Prabhupada ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki.
Thank you very much, Padre Prabhu, for taking us into Bhagavad Gita, and very nicely you took us to the sloka. Very nice questions, helping us understand what actually our real adhikar should be. What is our, say, time-oriented some duties and all, but what is our ultimate eternal duty and where to focus or channelize all our energies. And how nicely kind of you related as well, like in societal terms it is perceived even now, like it's so strange, isn't it? The movement is 50 plus years old, but still people in society think, oh, Hare Krishnas, they're sort of not good for nothing, but say Hare Krishnas, they no job and all and just become a Hare Krishna. But that's not what it is as such. And yeah, and how we cannot be just imitating, we cannot do imitate, and how like dharma is sustainable. So for us also to engage in devotional service in a gradual bit by bit way, something that sustains us, and ultimately we are after love for Krishna, attaining the love for Krishna. So again, thank you for nicely taking the questions and answering the questions, very inspiring. So all of us will say 3 times Haribol for our dear Father Prabhu. Huh? Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. And thank you all the participants, Harsha, Ivi, Diksha, Anuja, Sudha, Sushila and others for joining. We meet up tomorrow, same time. Huh? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mm.